Hi, thanks for joining me on the Listen Up Grow podcast. I'm Randles-Friedman, bringing you your fast, unfiltered rundown of the biggest LGBTQ plus headlines, culture chaos, and political moment that's shaping our lives right now. We have a lot to unpack, from the orange convicted felon spiraling on social media and threatening international war crimes, to new legislation targeting trans youth, to pride rising in places that you at least expect. This one is one of those episodes where everything feels connected: power, control, identity, and who gets to exist freely. Our first story is war rhetoric versus trans visibility. Let's start with something that honestly feels surreal. Right wing commentator Erick Erickson is making headlines after saying he's more okay with the orange convicted felon threatening war crimes against Iran than he is with Trans Day of Visibility landing on Easter. So let that sink in. He's okay with the orange convicted felon of possibly killing millions of people, wiping out our whole culture, a whole country off the map. I think it's 100 million people. Than he is having Trans Day of Visibility landing on Easter. This all comes after the orange convicted felon posted an explicit filled Easter rant where he suggested bombing Iran's infrastructure, bridges, power plants, the kind of action that would widely considered violations under international humanitarian law, including the Geneva Conventions. And yet somehow, for some people, the real outage is a day recognizing trans people. This is the culture war in 2026. Visibility is treated as more dangerous than violence. I sometimes pull these news stories and I can't even believe what I'm reading. I can't even believe, and I fact checked this. It's all, this person said this. Erick Erickson said this. Next, we go to Maine, ballot targeting trans youth. The state just released the wording for a ballot initiative that voters will decide on this November, and it directly targets transgender youth. The question asks whether schools should be required to restrict bathrooms and sports participation based on birth certificates, and allow students to sue schools over these policies. This is part of a growing national trend using parent rights language to roll back protections for trans students. So let's be clear. This isn't about safety, it's about exclusion. And it's codified into law. And it puts schools, kids, and the entire communities in the crosshairs. Next, MAGA cracks down as the orange convicted felon escalates. So let's talk about something we don't see often: fractures inside MAGA. The orange convicted felon's increasingly erratic behavior, especially around Iran, is starting to shake even his most loyal base. Remember, he campaigned no more foreign wars, but now he's escalating rhetoric and threatening military action. And even longtime supporters are like, wait a second. A bizarre Easter post triggered backlash across conservative circles, with former allies publicly expressing concerns. This isn't just political disagreement anymore, it's instability, and people are noticing. Even our, how do I say this about Lindsey Graham? Even Lindsey Graham, who is part of our community, allegedly, has said that he thinks anything that's done with war should actually now go and be approved by Congress. So even he is caving in. Next, Ric Grenell eyes a comeback. And speaking of political maneuvering, Ric Grenell, yes, the openly gay Trump loyalist, is reportedly trying to claw his way back into power. According to reports, he's floating interest in becoming U.S. ambassador to Russia. Yes, I can't make this up. Ric Grenell, who is gay, a orange convicted felon loyalist, wants to be the U.S. ambassador to Russia, which means he would have to live in Russia, where they do not like gay people. In fact, it seems like it's almost like a crime. This comes after his exit from the Kennedy senator presidency and signals he's still very aligned with the orange convicted felons inner circle. It's another reminder: representation alone doesn't equal progress. Next, we go to Tennessee. Librarian fired over LGBTQ books. In Tennessee, a county library board has fired its top librarian, Luann James. Why? Because she refused to comply with a directive to move over 100 LGBTQ theme books out of the children's section. The justification? Concerns about gender confusion. This is why across the country, libraries are becoming battlegrounds. Books are being relocated, restricted, and outright banned, and people are trying to protect access to knowledge. They're losing their jobs. Next, LGBTQ veterans fight for justice in the UK. Across the pond, 2 LGBTQ veterans are suing the UK Ministry of Defense. Mark Shepard and Stephen Stewart say that they were forced out of the military because of their sexuality, and now they're being denied full compensation. While the UK introduced a final recognition scheme offering up to £70,000, they received just £5,000 and £7,000 because technically they resigned. But as Shepard put it, I felt I was driven out. This case isn't just about money, it's about acknowledgement and justice. And I wish them luck. I really hope that they get what they deserve. Next, queer women entered the Hall of Fame. So here's some good news. We have some good news today, and I'm happy to share it. The Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame's 2026 class is getting a lot gayer in the best way possible. Legends like Cheryl Swoops and Candace Parker are among the out LGBTQ athletes being honored, and honestly, it is way overdue. Visibility in sports matters, recognition matters, and this is a huge moment. So yes, we need more good news for our community. Next, Don't Say Gay law back in play. In Iowa, an appeals court has ruled that the state can enforce part of its Don't Say Gay style law. That means schools can restrict books, classroom discussions, LGBTQ plus topics, while legal battles continue. So even without the final ruling, the impact is already happening. Students are losing access to stories, identity, and themselves. Could you imagine being a gay child in this state and they have a law that says don't say gay, and they're debating if it's something unbelievable. Next, we go over to Turkey, where LGBTQ activists are on trial. In Turkey, 11 LGBTQ plus activists are now on trial for obscenity. Their alleged crime? Posting images of same-sex couples online. They face up to 3 years in prison. So let's be clear. This isn't about obscenity. It's about silencing. And it shows how quickly rights can erode when governments weaponize morality. And finally, pride rises in the deep red Florida. Something powerful. Lake County Pride is hosting its first ever Pride Festival in deeply conservative part of Florida. Despite funding challenges, political pressure, and even threats, they are moving forward. Their message, we choose joy. And honestly, that might be the most radical thing of all right now. I know Lake County, Florida, kind of. It is not a place where you see a lot of people that are out and proud. And I love it. It is deep red Florida, that is for sure. And I love it that they are going to push this Pride celebration. It is going to be in April. So if you are in Lake County, Florida area, make sure to attend. So there's one thing tying all of today's stories together. It's this. Visibility is being challenged, but it's also being defended, and very loudly. From courtrooms to classrooms, from Pride festivals to Hall of Fame stages, the fight isn't slowing down, and neither are we. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're following it, share it, and please leave a review. It helps more people find Listen Up Girl. And remember, stay loud, stay informed, and stay proud. I will see you tomorrow with more LGBTQ plus news.